to the first Data-Driven Video Summit. My name is Jerónimo Macanás, and I'm Jump CEO and co-founder. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Paul Johnson, CEO at MPP Global, and Gio Punzo, CEO at Streann Media, for co-sponsoring this event. First of all, also, I'd like to thank all the leading companies and top-notch executives that are going to join us today along the different sessions. We had a tremendous response to our event, surpassing all our expectations. We had an exciting day ahead with terrific sessions that would look at the different ways data is transforming video and TV and entertainment businesses. First of all, I'd like to explain you how we conceived this event, why we decided to make an event around data and video, and why now. There is nothing new in the fact that video service providers are looking at data as a powerful asset to really manage their core business activities. Acquisition, retention, engagement, personalization are all key areas that necessarily needs data to be optimized. What is different now is that COVID contribution is really an unexpected topic and unexpected fact that really accelerates all of our industry transformation. We at Jump have conducted an internal study where we find some very interesting findings that I'd like to share with you. First of all, 90% increase in the new users signing up to trials from video streaming services. This is really a good opportunity. Second, a 124% increase in the total hours that people is watching content on streaming. This is really awesome. And what is more impressive, that this is led by smart TVs that have a tremendous growth of more than 250% increase. I think this is probably a key thing compared with probably data from last year, right? Also, we identify a 30% increase in the number of engaged users, meaning engaged users, people that are consuming actively video content every single month during the analyzed period. On the other hand, unfortunately, we identify a 20% overall increase in churn rates, but there is something here to discuss. I'm more than sure during all these different sessions, people will discuss this specific topic, and also a negative growth of 30% in conversion rates. I think probably, on my honest opinion, this is one of the key things that this pandemic is bringing to us, is the consumption increase, a lot of people signing up for trials, at the same time, increasing churn rates and conversion rates from trial also are decreasing. That definitely is providing some insights on how and why people is now more active on video streaming services, but also the expectations and the way they behave is not necessarily the same that used to be in the past. But anyway, in conclusion, this overall growth, I think, will bring a lot of opportunities for video service providers. But what I do believe as well, that they need to analyze the user behavior in order to understand those eager users' expectations. So they can really provide to this specific audience what they really want. In my humble opinion, there is two key aspects that video service providers will need to focus moving forward in the coming months. I think the most important one for me is increasing these conversion rates of those eager new trial users. We need to capitalize on that opportunity that is bringing us the pandemic. There is more people signing up for trials, more people discovering what it's OTT, more people discovering about the streaming, or even people that they were like casual streamers becoming more like heavy users, but probably with different expectations that the ones of the people, the early adopters that we used to know in the last years, right? And second is improving retention strategies for those increasingly engaged paying users. So we have seen that people that is paying is very happy to keep paying. At the same time, it's increasing consumption, but also they are now moving into a more competitive environment where they need to choose probably between one service or the other because of probably some impact on domestic economics. So we really need to really focus very closely on this area as well. So of course, as you can imagine, these two areas requires a lot of data-driven approaches. And I'm more than sure that along the different sessions that we have today, we are gonna discuss how we can make it happen and how we can make it happen effectively to capitalize on that opportunity of the consumption increase. So Paul, Gio, I'd love to hear your views about these different topics. So maybe Paul, what do you think about it? Do you want to continue?
Yes, thanks, Jiro. Just to introduce myself, my name is Paul Johnson. I'm the founder CEO at MPP Global. We are a company which provides SaaS subscriber management services to the publishing, TV and sports sectors. In OTT, our clients include Blockbuster in Denmark, and I think we will hear from Casper, their CEO, later today. SF Anytime in Sweden, Sky's Now TV service in the UK. We provide sports OTT services as well for the likes of Juventus, Manchester United and ATP. And we're going live with a couple of very large OTT services in the US very soon, mainly as a result of fast-tracking OTT strategies in light of the COVID crisis and the opportunities that are presented. And like you, Giro, I think increasing conversion rates and retention are hot topics for us, particularly with subscriptions and maintaining those high revenues. And of course, if we look back 6 months, we all know that something very strange happened in the world. And as we know, everyone was locked down almost instantaneously. COVID-19 lockdown saw an overnight surge in subscription revenues as people sought to fill the entertainment gap in their lives. They weren't allowed to go out, they weren't allowed to do sports or the other things they like to do. So turned to Netflix and tons of other OTT services. At the very same time, all live sports was suspended, which meant sports OTT services tanked. Sports, in fact, are projected to lose some $60 billion in revenues by the end of the year. So there was winners and losers as lockdowns hit us. I could talk all day about the strategies and tactics employed by media companies as they sought to benefit from lockdown. And the lessons learned from digital media to drive subscriber acquisition and to minimize churn. And then how sports companies coped both initially and then as they enjoyed a boom time when live sports returned. At the end of the day, content is king. Great content will always result in successful subscriber volumes. The question becomes more of maximizing acquisition and minimizing churn to really turn a successful service into a very successful service. And the timing of content is also very interesting. We saw with Disney Plus that they released the movie Frozen 2 some 3 months ahead of schedule. And this coincided, at least in the UK, with the launch of Disney Plus. And it helped Disney Plus go from 0 subscribers to 4 million subscribers in the 3 months to June this year. Similarly, the highly acclaimed Netflix documentary, which chronicled the Chicago Bulls throughout the 1990s, called The Last Dance, wasn't supposed to be released by Netflix until the NBC finals, which I think are in June. But they released it much earlier when there was a void in sports fans' lives. And it helped add 16 million subscribers to Netflix, which was more than double the increase in Q4 last year. That 16 million increase was in Q1 this year. So great content will always be successful, but the timing of that content can result in much higher levels of success and revenue. Many of our clients use lots of different campaigns to help drive acquisition. And great content doesn't always need a big discount to get people subscribing. Discounts which are too big or too enticing will often lead to much higher churn rates later on. So we need to think about that carefully and get the balance just right. As we know, everyone likes a discount, and with free trials, low start offers, limited time offers in conjunction with a discount code, we can really get creative on how people convert into paying customers. For example, Sky Sports and BT Sports really slashed their prices ahead of the English Premier League restarting in June. I liked what Bloomberg did. They discounted pricing to offer a 2-year subscription to their customers. And why wouldn't they? A long-term subscriber is far more valuable than a monthly subscriber. But it came with a warning. The lower you go with your pricing, the higher your churn is going to be. And so striking that balance is so important. And alongside the 2-year subscription, Bloomberg also offered monthly and annual subscriptions. There is nothing new here. But what I really liked was Bloomberg applying the rule of 3, which psychologically attracts people to the middle offer, the one in the middle from monthly, annual to 2-year subscriptions. And the one they put in the middle was the annual subscription, and therefore attracting annual subscribers where churn is much less of a problem. So we had a big increase in subscribers during lockdown as people rushed to fill all the additional spare time that they had. And thoughts turned to how we keep hold of those subscribers, how to minimize churn, and what will happen as people get back to their normal lives. Niche and sports content are the worst for chronic churners, according to Boston Consulting Group, with up to 30% of the subscriber base cancelling and resubscribing 2 or more times every 2 years, compared to less than 10% for the core content providers like Amazon and Netflix. This goes to underline the desire to maximize conversion rates to long-term subscribers. At the same time, if we accept that niche content naturally attracts customers on a transient, seasonal, or per live event basis, offering day passes, rentals, or event passes does become a viable option, which has been proven very popular with Now TV in the UK. And as life gets back to normal, we have to work hard to keep subscribers and avoid the churn and burn factor, which is a real fear in the publishing sector and all OTT services as well, of course. Clever offboarding cancellation journeys can be introduced to try and steer customers away from cancellations with exit surveys that guide subscribers to a more suitable package, the ability to pause, or even provide a unique offer based on consumption patterns. We can also use algorithms to predict churn, machine learning, and use past consumption behavior to promote upcoming content which will appeal to consumers. Or if you can see someone has been light in a particular month, surprise them by adding credit onto their account. And there's also involuntary churn. It's amazing how many subscribers get lost because we are unable to collect a payment. So we work very hard to stop that from happening with all of our clients. A good example being with one of the large OTT clients in the UK, where we reduced 10% involuntary churn every month to less than 1%, which is a real increase in their bottom line. So for us, Giro, I think the key takeaways for us were to provide attractive discounts, but not too attractive that you miss revenue opportunities and increase short-term churn. Longer-term subscriptions increase lifetime value. Use technology to predict voluntary churn and to remove involuntary churn as much as possible. And finally, and most importantly, content is king. Providing content which becomes habitual with your customer base creates a strong and loyal customer base. So that's some of the insights from us, Giro. I hope
Really good, super interesting. Thanks, thanks for your insights. Gio, you want to provide us your vision?
Guys, great. This is Gio from Streann Media. If somebody doesn't know us, we're the most innovative and interactive OTT platform in the world. We learned a lot, right, during these strange times. We had TV stations and radio stations telling us that their regular broadcast numbers were down, right? Nobody was listening to the radio anymore. TV was not being watched as much, but people were using them on different devices. This is your new TV, right? And during COVID, it became even more obvious. So we had customers calling us for, I need to be on iOS, Android, Roku, Apple TV. I need to be on smart speakers. Give me skills on Alexa. So we saw a huge uptake. We saw for the first time that people that broadcast as content providers really took digital and streaming seriously. So the biggest winner out of COVID is really streaming. Streaming now is mainstream and everybody needs it, right? Obviously, Netflix wins. Was it just because the library? Was it because the quality of content? Content is king, but it's not the only king anymore, right? You heard me say before, Tesla is not a car company, it's a data company, right? Netflix is not a content company, it's a data company. So content providers need to become data companies, and you need to see your business as if you're not just selling subscription, but you're collecting data to provide users a better quality of experience. And that experience is not just, I'm gonna create that new content because of the data that I received, but what about the overall UI, UX experience as well, and the engagement piece. So it's super interesting that for us, the new market trends in the short run, we see that every single industry needs streaming. We had calls from churches, radio stations, university, sports, esports. And what's really interesting about these new content providers that are now taking streaming seriously is that they don't understand the data, right? It's all new for them. So at some point, they're gonna have to collect it properly. They're gonna have to analyze it and then make decisions based on data. Because again, streaming is about data. We call, what we've seen in the stage one is that every content provider was calling us. They said, hey, I need to be on this device. I need to be, again, on Alexa, smart speakers, smart TVs. We call that distribution. So stage one, what we've seen is that, yes, I have content. I need to now distribute it to via streaming to multiple platforms. So short run, we've seen them just jumping on the streaming train. But then you have, past stage one, we see the new trends coming. They're going to be about engagement. How do you keep users on your platform? It's not just personalization of content, it's personalization of engagement, right? So I want to play, I love trivia. I want to play trivia games on my content platform. I should have that capability. I want to create stories like, TikTok or Instagram stories or Reels. I should do that. What if I don't like those things? I should personalize my engagement experience. So in stage two, we're going to see companies needing to realize, okay, I have distributed the content. Now I want to be able to personalize my engagement. Stage three, this is also interesting. More AVOD, right? So we see a trend where new business models for monetization needs to be created. Yes, SVOD is going to stay. It's not going away. And there's different models. I think, Paul, you described something very interesting. 12 months, 2 years type of approaches or incentives. That's super. But we're going to start seeing new business model coming up because not everybody can afford so many subscriptions, and OTT is just going to increase. We're going to see more and more new services coming up, niche services that are really going to help the end user decide, where to go with the content. So we need to get more creative, in stage three on monetization business model. So to finish, the forecast that we see is pretty simple. And content providers need to be more like TikTok and less like Quibi, right? End users have voted. They want to participate. We live in an era of user-generated content, multiplayer, multi-watching, and the audience simply wants more, right? So super interesting. Think of TikTok, which is a user-generated platform, being used as much as YouTube, which is just a passive watching content experience, right? And what we learned during COVID is this huge, massive opportunity of TikTok-like type of services, right? So content providers need to start shifting that user experience more into an engagement experience with the end user, again, can personalize the engagement. So COVID, I think, was a huge wake-up call for the industry, for all different industries, all different content providers. And at the end of the day, everybody, right? We've seen influencers, we've seen every single industry become a potential content providers. The most important thing is going to be what are they going to use the data for? Are they going to be able to understand this? We need to make it very, very simple for them. And what tools of engagement monetizations are they going to use to grow their business? What do you think?
Thank you. Just a comment on both of you guys, both visions. So one of the trends that we have seen in the, not just during this year, but of course, COVID is accelerating like crazy. Everybody's thinking about concepts like engagement or retention, churn, etc. But even from last year, it used to happen that when there is a new brand streaming video services, typically they were just worried about, I need to launch, I need to be out there, I need to start, with my business, all of that. And typically, they don't really care, or they don't put on top of priority data, right? This is more about the second phase. This is more about, well, once I will be able to launch my video service, then I will start to take care about engagement, about retention, about personalization. But of course, all of these activities requires looking specifically at data-driven strategies on each of these areas, right? What we have seen during the last, let's say, 12 months, not just for putting this in the context of COVID, is that when we have a new customer, when there is a new brand video service that want to launch out there, they are more and more looking at the different dimensions from the core business activities that needs to be thought from a data-driven perspective. So let me give you an example. I have seen a change when, for example, somebody is thinking about, I don't know, acquisition, right? So everybody, the first step of any video service, I need to optimize the acquisition process. I need to grow my customer base, right? And at the beginning, it was more about, okay, we have this marketing budget. We know what is the target persona. So let's launch a marketing campaign. That's it, right? And then let's see how much people we can attract from Facebook, from other different acquisition channels. We are seeing more and more, a lot of customers asking us, okay, I want to invest this amount of money on acquisition, but I really need to know from a data perspective, which are the acquisition channels that are driving to me more highest customer lifetime value, or that are bringing to me more conversion from the trials, or less churn rates. So all that kind of a smart analysis on every single step of the core business is something that I personally am seeing more and more focus from these video services. So it used to be just, okay, I wanted to reduce churn, or I wanted to personalize that. At some time ago, it was just about putting some content ribbons on the user experience. And I think what I have seen a trend is that these new brand video services, and of course, the incumbent ones even more, is looking at every single data aspect of their business and how can define small wins typically, but that really have an impact on the ROI or revenue baseline the business at the end. So I don't know if you guys have seen something like this, because I mean, the data companies guys, we always tend to say, right, you need to increase conversion, or you need to reduce churn, but at the end it's not as easy. I mean, you need a lot of knowledge, you need technology, you need first of all a strategy, a data-driven strategy, but the reality is that every single video service in the world can benefit from no as difficult actions if they took very specific areas where they can use data to improve their business. And I think typically that have a very positive impact within the organization, because they can demonstrate that with the small efforts, small investments, they can drive nice results. And then is when suddenly everybody wants to become like a data-driven company, right? And then is when the party starts for all of us. But I think, I don't know if you guys share with me these impressions during the last months, or this is something if you have noticed within your customers.
Yeah, I can take that. Absolutely. You know, what we've seen, for example, on our side is that the tier one content providers are starting to look at not only the distribution. I want my content on every screen, but okay, what is our data strategy, right? And it's extremely important. It needs to come really from the top down. The organization needs to understand that taking data seriously is going to be the right path forward, because at some point you need to analyze data. And also in the first months, you're not going to get the data, right? And that needs to be also a realistic expectation that that each company needs to take. It takes 3 to 6 months to really get good quality data inside, and then understand, again, user behavior and how you can use that data in order to make the right shifts in the content acquisition, in the customer acquisition strategy, right? So, but it takes at least 6 months, 3 to 6 months with everything, to collect the data, optimize it, and then making sure that then internally you can maneuver. So we always say something, Gerald, that it's really interesting. Digital transformation is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? So if you think, okay, I'm now out there and I'm already, everybody should download my OTT platform. No, it's not going to happen. You have to give it time. You have to do it properly. If you have a good data engine behind, that's going to help you make the right decision for your business. We've seen that trend on the tier one, and I touched a little bit on the other new content providers that are coming to the game. They have no idea right now, and they need to understand that data is going to be very, very important, and they need to analyze data to make those decisions in the long run.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's a given, isn't it, these days, that collecting data and behavioral and consumption-based data, as well as payment and subscription-based data, is important, and how you churn that all together from multiple different data sources. And then it's the practical application of that data, both from an analytics point of view, which is more offline exercise by marketing people, but then what is much more interesting is the real-time application of that data. Giro, I don't know if you could maybe tell us more about, you said at the beginning, when it comes to acquisition and increasing acquisition rates by 30%, perhaps the steps you go through with a client on how you go from a current position and get those acquisition rates so much higher.
Yeah, so acquisition, I think, and conversion rates are becoming more and more like a hot topic, at least in our customer base during the last months. And the reason is volumes, right? So they have now unexpected volumes of new subscribers. They, unfortunately, they don't have, as Gio said, this historical data to really compare with. So unfortunately, typically the predictive part of this process is not as easy, because all these people behave in different way than your regular subscribers, let's say. Some of them are just there for trying the service. Some of them are even discovering streaming. Right. So it's very different user profile, let's say. So how to convert those users into paying subscribers is becoming the $1 million question this month, to be honest. We are helping our customers, of course, to make some analysis on that, typically mixing both. One of the examples that I have explained to you guys about trying to understand the differences between the different acquisition channels, that there's a lot of differences between people that you can acquire from, I don't know, TikTok,
Facebook, Instagram,
or organically on, for example, Google AdWords. So that's something completely, usually very different profile of end users. So we are mixing this with also trying to anticipate and translate some of our knowledge on the predictive capabilities on the other regular users, let's call it, to try to predict very easily. So it's a challenge for us as well, because we, instead of having like 6 months of data minimum to do like predictive analysis to let our customers know, well, these guys are the most likely guys to convert and these are the reasons for, so they can focus very quickly on the ones with highest probability to convert and with the ones that the main reasons for that. Instead of that, we have days for trying to get a profile about how these people is behaving, and before the 1 month trial ends, we need to provide some insights to help our customers to retain these people. So that's also a challenge for companies like the three of us that I think are gonna impact and change as well our own technologies and how we need to help the market to be successful. So one of the key findings, for example, that we saw, and it was of course expected, but in some way it was a confirmation, and some of our customers are really using it for driving conversion, is multi-screen devices. So we have seen that if you, for example, don't have a smart TVs these days, you are gonna have a big challenge in converting people. Of course, there is a specific generation and a specific audience segment that is 100% mobile, but the reality is that we have seen that the more engaged, especially these guys that have come with the pandemic period to new brand or to new subscriptions, if you have a very nice application, of course, content skin, but apart from that, a smart TV app that really works for them, these guys typically have less risk of churning during the trial. So that's, for example, one of the things that have changed a bit compared with last year, when, of course, smart TVs were growing like crazy, not in consumption, but not as much in usage. The importance of the engagement with the, let's say, TV screen in the living room. So that's something, for example, that we have customers that have been putting a lot of focus in making sure that the, let's say, big TV screens, smart TVs or Roku's or whatever, are already there and ready for these new trial users to engage with.
No, I think that's an excellent point. No, and look back at the content providers need to become data companies, and they're not. They're very far away from that. So one of the things that the approaches that we've taken is that we're helping them understand the data, right? So that's going to be super important, because think about it. They're just migrating now into this digital world. They don't have a department. They don't have a team that can a staff that can understand and study and spend the time really to analyze the data. So that's another huge challenge. And for the content providers, owners and executives that are listening to us right now, you need to create that department, right? You need to create not only a digital team that is, the people managing your streaming, but you need to add people that analyze the data. If you don't have it, I think between the three companies of us on this call, we can help you with that, with services that you don't have to, again, you don't have to hire internally maybe because you don't have the budgets, but you do need to look at this very, very seriously because it's that next stage, right? Analyzing the data that's what's going to take you over the top. I think that there's a challenge there. There's a huge opportunity as well, and you know, analyzing the data across all devices is going to be the key to success, right? We had a customer, for example, that was only looking at their iOS, Android, and web, and then all of a sudden we looked at it like, yeah, you have 100,000 users of Roku. Not even a strategy for that. It's a happy surprise, but again, they should have had a team looking at that data and why the success or why the uptake of Roku, for example, versus an Apple TV that still they were having customer acquisition issues on. So again, that's going to be key. That's going to be key across multiple devices, looking at the data, taking data seriously. For the tier 1, the tier 2, you gotta get into the data game. Absolutely.
I mean, back to acquisition, it's a fascinating area, and there's clearly lots of different data points that you can use in real time. You know, the ones that you get for free, like the browser type or the browser version or the device type, IP address, dwell times, that sort of thing, as well as the personalization of depending on the type of content people are consuming. I was just wondering if either of you had any practical applications of blending all of those different types of data points for a given consumer, an individual, and whether you use dynamic pricing or dynamic packaging or dynamic offers that are created on the fly for a given individual, because that would lead to a more likely incident of conversion.
I think it's a fantastic topic. Yeah, go ahead, Drew. Go ahead.
I totally agree. I think also you guys are right. I think there is a big difference between the tier 1 guys and the rest of let's say newcomers or niche content video services. But I think there is a lot of learnings on what tier 1s have been doing on data. They've been in, I mean, this is not new. Tier 1s have been investing very heavily on data during the last years. What it's been more challenging for some of them, it's really to how really, they've been investing a lot in ingesting data, storing data, and having massive data lakes, massive data warehouse. But at the end of the day, it's been a lack of how to convert this data into insights and these insights into actions, that I think there is a lot of learnings in there. So when you look at data, of course, first step is collecting data, otherwise you are done, right? But this is just the first step. And typically the magic and and when you really can add value to your business is when you are really capable to relate all these different data sources that comes from multiple parts of the video streaming value chain, and how do you relate this to really understand and find key actions to really drive more engagement or acquisition or monetization. This is when really the magic happens. And I think this is typically the more challenging part. I think today, big data, AI, all these technologies at the end are more affordable than used to be some years ago. So I think almost everybody can access to these technologies, but it's not as easy. It's really to make sense of all these technologies and data once you push your data through all these different mechanisms, and you really need to get an insight to make an action. This is why really we really think it's going to be one of probably the challenges of the coming months in terms of data. I think it's going to be a lot of people focusing on how to make sure that they are going to have the right data. But my advice is, from the very, very beginning of the equation, think about how you are going to get the insights you need for managing your business. Otherwise, you're going to have a very nice data lake and a lot of headaches. And I need data scientists, I need data engineers, I need data analysts for analyzing all of this. And at the end, you're going to invest a lot of money, a lot of effort that really will not pay off. So thinking from the very early beginning, which are the insights that you really need for driving your business is crucial, because you need to envision the full journey independently. That of course is a marathon, and you are not going to be at the end in day one, but you need to envision where are you going to be, and then go step by step on that direction. If you just start to walk with no direction, typically we have seen many cases that really fail exactly because of that, because they just start to do things around data. So that would be one of my key thinking about how to really get started.
Which is also why you need platforms that can help you change your business model. The data that you'll find in 6 months, in 12 months is going to be completely different. You need to make sure that you can shift. You can drive, you can pivot if need be into a different business model. But you can only make those decisions based on the data and the time, right? Time and data is a key element, like you're saying.
Yes. Okay, guys. So I think it's been a fantastic chat. I really appreciate that you guys are there, and thanks both for your fantastic contributions. And I'm more than sure that we are going to see fantastic sessions for the rest of the days with very amazing panelists from leading companies in the world. Yeah. So probably that's even more interesting than us. Is how these guys are driving their business using data. That it's not usual that we have these big companies just talking to us about the challenges they have when using data and the opportunities. So very happy to be with you guys, sponsoring the event, and let's move to the next sessions. Thanks for all the people that are attending this opening, and looking forward for the rest of the event. Thank you very much.